Hello and welcome to another edition of Coffee with the Coaches, the Red Sisterhood with Helen and I. Um, we always have a little thing beforehand about what's come up with us um, in the previous week and where Spirit have pointed us to talk. And it's been a bit of a tricky one today because we've had a lot come up and we've gone round and then we remember that we're kind of talking the show before hitting record. So we've hit record after probably doing the show before hitting record to the point that Coffee with the Coaches is like a mouthful left as we do this. And so, welcome. I am going to hand you over to Helen because today we are going to talk into gratitude. And Helen and I have both had very different experiences with gratitude, but both equally love it. So, over to you.
Thanks. I'm sorry if you are joining and listening to us now that you've missed all the best content before we've even hit record. Nah, just kidding. So like Lisa said, we're going to be talking about gratitude today, and it is something that we kind of bang on about a lot, but that's because it's, for me, so simple and so powerful. Now, it's probably got a little bit buzzy in the world. So in terms of, how we talk about self-care and not the sexy self-care, like where you're insta-worthy baths and actually doing the work and taking care of yourself. Gratitude for me feels a little bit like that. It's out there, which is bloody incredible because I want people to do gratitude practices and be bringing that into their world more. But also I think sometimes we overlook stuff and the value in it when it becomes a little bit buzzy. So gratitude, for those of you that are joining and thinking, what the hell am I talking about? And you probably associate gratitude with, I guess, showing gratitude. So someone holds the door open for you, you say thank you, you're showing your gratitude. You would leave a tip at the end of a meal to a waitress and show your gratitude in that form. And maybe not recognize that actually we can use gratitude as a practice and taking time out to consciously focus on the things in our life that we have to be grateful for. So just before we kind of delve in on our experience and our opinions on it, just kind of giving you a very little background of what gratitude is, so that hopefully, if you've never heard of it, it makes sense to you when we're rambling on. Does that make sense?
Absolute sense. I'm just laughing because obviously, as we're talking about gratitude, my phone has pinged. For anyone that has certain photo apps, it will tell you that what you were doing a year ago today, and a gorgeous little picture just popped up.
Oh, that's me.
Of Helen and I and my mini munchkin being in the woods. And owning a business is really, really hard. Anybody that is an entrepreneur in any kind will tell you how difficult it is, but also how unbelievably amazing it is. And for Helen and I to have been able to just go for a walk in the forest in what would have been a work day for both of us had we been in the 9 to 5 is a gorgeous reminder of being grateful for
Oh,
those moments.
I feel a little bit emotional. I think it's right, like for me, and I know we've done this before, like we've literally, it's been Monday morning, 10 o'clock, and me and Winter are on the beach, and we're like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that we can do this. And then there's times when we're like, business is savage, what the heck are we doing? Like, and actually gratitude pulling us through that is so important, and it's making me laugh, and just because of life, isn't it? Like you're always kind of guided and shown stuff. And for those of you that know me and Lisa, obviously we totally mix in the world of woo, and if you listen to this, you've probably got that. So being guided and getting the messages and the signs constantly, it's hilarious. Like there's times me and Lisa have been sat there with stuff all out on the floor, mapping out business, thinking, shit, we don't have enough time in the world. And then all of a sudden a song will come on the TV or the radio with little hidden messages, and we're both looking at each other and laughing like, okay, universe, we get it. So actually taking time to focus on things that you feel grateful for can really help when life feels challenging. Have you got any particular stories or kind of memories or snippets that's come into mind when you think about that, Lise?
For me, in terms of gratitude, I think it's understanding how your ideas and ideals can change. So for a long time, I would use gratitude as a mask, and I would use it to give the world this idea that everything was okay, not trying to convince anyone else, but kind of convince myself. So it was the kind of toxic positivity, people pleasing. If I show up happy, being grateful, then things won't be overwhelming. Whereas now I understand that when I'm feeling overwhelmed, just accepting that, leaning into it, and then bringing myself into the moment will help me feel that gratitude in a way that's natural and not forced. And nature for me is the single, I can't be in nature and not be grateful. So when we were in the forest, when we were at the beach 10 o'clock in the morning, it goes hand in hand to me taking that moment to be part of the world as it stands, as in earth, not as in the construct of our world and the busyness of life, but being part of the natural world naturally makes me feel grateful.
I love that. And I think when you were talking there, it just reminded me of that time we held a circle on the beach and we're there, the sun setting, it's bloody gorgeous. And all of a sudden, Lisa was like, what the hell's that in the distance? And everyone kind of turned and looked in the opposite direction to where the sun was setting. And you could see this ball of red light. And we were like, what the hell even is that? And time kind of froze. Like, I genuinely don't know if we sat there for 4 minutes or 40 minutes or 4 hours because we were just so in awe of, and what we figured, it was the moon rising. It was this gorgeous, beautiful red moon rising. So to the left, we had this incredible, beautiful sunset. We had this landscape of like seaside, and then on the right we had the moon rising, and we sat there with a fire burning, music playing, good company, and like I genuinely could have burst in that moment from pure gratitude. And for me, when you feel that naturally, when you naturally feel grateful, nothing else can beat that. Like, I'm alive. I get to witness this. Like, no matter what had gone on in that day, or even 10 minutes before, or whatever, like being in that moment and naturally feeling grateful without it being forced, it's just incredible. And actually, I believe that there's scientific research that shows that gratitude is kind of the king of positive emotions. So there is this kind of upward spiral. So you've probably heard a downward spiral where we're thinking about you can one bad thing and we can quickly spiral through negative emotions, but the opposite, like using gratitude as a way to upward spiral. And there's the practicing it maybe feels a little bit forced, but by practicing it daily, we're rewiring our brain to focus on the things we feel grateful for, so that in the moments like the sun setting and the moon rising, get them right, we naturally recognize that gratitude, we naturally recognize them feelings, and it just comes flooding in. And for me, that's just something so special. When life can get really tough and challenging and we can face adversity, there is always something to be grateful for. And sometimes we don't see that, and sometimes we don't see the simplicity in that. Walking in the kitchen, turning the tap on, there's clean fresh water. Like, not everyone gets that luxury, but we have that, and I'm grateful for that. So even in the toughest of days, I've got simplicity. But exactly like you were saying, Lise, it's not instead of. Feeling grateful is not instead of. I can be having the shittest day and be angry and upset, and I'm not going to go, oh, I'm so grateful I've got clean running water, I don't feel them feelings anymore. It's not about that. It's actually, I'm angry and feeling that and processing that, and I've still got things to be grateful for too.
Yeah.
Listen, that's true.
Yeah, 100%. 100% that. It's understanding as well the different types of gratitude. You know, I've said this to Alan before and I say it a lot. not every day is amazing, but there is something amazing in every single day. Like, no matter how bad your day has gone, you will have had some kind of little nod from spirit to say there are still amazing things in this day that can happen. And feeling that natural conscious connection to Mother Earth is a gratitude that runs throughout your human, your heart, and your soul. But it's also still really important to cultivate that gratitude mindset, as Helen said, and take time to think, okay, it's the end of the day. What 3 things today am I grateful for? What 1 thing today am I grateful for? What has been that amazing thing in my day today? And that's equally as important, because it is shifting that mindset and bringing in those endorphins. Because when we feel something, when we have a memory, or we put our attention on something that feels good, our body responds to that. So we feel good in that moment, even if the rest of the day has gone a bit peaked on. What even is peaked on?
Wrong. It must be Cockney rhyming.
It must be, yes, peaked tongue wrong, yeah.
I didn't even know I knew that until it came out my mouth. I surprise myself sometimes. Anyway, back to gratitude. I think that and there is lots of scientific, this is where my inner science geek comes out when we talk about stuff like this, and it is on a total like spectrum, is that if you are total embedded in woo woo, yes, like you will get nods from spirit, and yes, the universe will give you signs of wonderfulness and things to be grateful for. But equally, if you're not quite there yet, this is science. This is the science of happiness, and it's backed, isn't it? And I think that there is lots of research that genuinely shows just taking the time out to reflect on them 3 good things at the end of the day. Like Lisa said, like no matter what's gone on, like if you can get into the habit of being like, even though today was shit, and instead of going to bed in a bit of a stinker, and then sleeping on that, how can I find something that was good today? Maybe it's never even 3. Maybe you can't find 3 good things in one day. Like sometimes it's like, what 1 thing can I find? You know what? I'm still freaking alive. I've got oxygen in my lungs and I'm here. Even if it's just that, even if it's just the simplicity, and put your hand on your heart and feel that. Feel your heart beating. And sometimes it's just reminding yourself, I'm here. I'm okay in this moment and I'm here. Yeah.
And that is a really great way to do it. And when I am feeling like the walls are closing in and the world is too much, I'll stop. I will literally stop and do exactly what Helen just said. Take a moment. And if you can physically put your hand on your heart and focus on your breath and just think, like in this moment right now, I've got everything that I need. Like right now, here, talking to Helen, I literally have everything that I need. And I may have things I would like more of, or that there may be things that tomorrow or in an hour may come back in as a thought. But right now, here in this moment, I absolutely have everything that I need.
I love that. And I was just thinking there, is like, you know, when you look back on times of your life where at the time you were like knee deep in shit and thinking, fuck me, this is tough. And then you look back now and you're like, oh, isn't it interesting? If that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met them. I wouldn't have made this choice. I wouldn't have had to make that decision. And you have all that wonderful things that actually looking back, you're probably grateful for. But when you're in it, you can't see it. And that's absolutely under no circumstances kind of sugarcoating any kind of traumatic event or anything like that. But little adversities where you can now see and connect the dots looking back and make sense of that was meant to happen. Like if they hadn't have left my life, or I didn't have that breakup, or I didn't get fired from that job, or whatever it is, actually, when you look back and be like, I've always wanted to start my own business, and now I'm grateful that I had that opportunity. Handed my notice in, and that was fucking terrifying. Whatever it is, when you look back, I'm sure there's points in your life now where at the time you genuinely thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. But looking back, you're grateful because it gives you that fucking grit and that determination and that resilience and strength. And for me, if we're thinking about the kind of leaning into the total woo-woo hippie side of me, it's kind of like it's making you what you need to be for the next level. Like, the universe wants you to succeed. It wants to give you all your desires. But if you got them too early, you couldn't cope. You wouldn't be ready. Like, sometimes it's shaping you and building you and giving you them tools and skills and characteristics so that when you get what you want, you can fucking boss it. And we can be grateful that the tough times have made us who we are, because then we get to go on and be who we're meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% that.
Went off,
And
didn't I?
didn't you?
It's been off on.
It is that. It's just being okay with wherever you are and whatever you're going through, and knowing that this too shall pass, because it will. The good, the bad, the things that we don't think we're ever going to manage, but we do. And if you are ever at a point where things feel unmanageable, this too shall pass. No one is saying in that moment be grateful for feeling at a loss or at a wit's end, because that's the toxic side of gratitude. It's, when you're in it, there's times when you can't be grateful, and that is okay. But this too shall pass, and your presence is needed now and always.
And I think the toxic positivity thing is so important that we discuss that. And obviously me and you, Lisa, happy to have them uncomfortable conversations and approach stuff that you kind of see in the world, and it's through no fault of anybody's apart from a lack of understanding and awareness that, I guess, how we see things, because I would have been that person. Like, I'm not afraid to hold my hands up that at some point I was the positive vibes only, and now I'm all vibes only. Like, let's go. Whatever you're feeling and experiencing, I'm holding space for you. I'm not just going to welcome people in because they're positive. And the same with gratitude, is there'll have been times when I've been like, be grateful. There's always something to be grateful for. And probably toxic positively shamed myself. Toxic positively, that's a total new word, isn't it? Shamed myself into being like, some people have it worse, like I should be grateful. And that's bullshit. Like, the one thing we can guarantee in life is fucking adversity and change and challenges, and we all experience trauma, big traumas, little traumas. And it's fucking insulting to sit there and think in the middle of a trauma, hey, but I've got things to be grateful for. Like, feel the feels, like, acknowledge them, make them valid. Like, we're not saying to you, let's sugarcoat shit up, because we're not. Like, and anybody that does, I would just say that it's a pure lack of understanding and awareness of emotions and processing them and being healthy. But it can be quite toxic, and we're not here to replace other emotions with gratitude. It's always this and that. Even if I'm happy and joyful, I'm grateful too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, a lot of it comes down to childhood and how we've been conditioned to behave. So our learnt behaviours, my learnt behaviour was not to show emotion, because if you show emotion, it's not safe. So show up as that happy, smiley person no matter what, to your own detriment. And sometimes it takes big things to make you realize how deep that is. So I knew that was a pain point for me. I worked on that for years and years and years. And as Helen will I always say, it doesn't go away. Most of the people that are in our group, so I've done any work with Helen and I, know that I lost my son 17 minutes after he was born. And 2 weeks after that, I went back into work because I'd gone through what someone to work, they'd wanted me to come in, and I'd put my feelings aside for theirs. And I'd gone into work to show everybody that I was okay, and then I thought they would leave me alone. And I went in and I just went into this role that I'd played my entire life of shut down a part of myself and play the role of Lisa that's always positive, Lisa that can be grateful in any moment. And for 3 days afterwards, I couldn't even get out of bed because my body and my mind and the universe had gone, this isn't right. And I'd done loads of work on that, not being overly positive, not trying to put other people's needs before my own, but it's always going to come back. And you can't make yourself feel bad. But that was another layer for me to deal with, another entrenchment of this is really, really toxic for me. And although I've done a lot of work on it, there's still a lot of work to do, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it's the safety and the familiarity, isn't it? And it's like, this is really challenging, so I'm just going to go back into this old shell. And often it's an unconscious thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to slip back to here, this dark wet cave, because it feels familiar and it's feels like a comfort zone, even though we know that it's not. But we're just human, and the one thing that you will always hear me and Lisa say probably a million times over on these bloody things is like, we're human. We're not here to tell you that we're some kind of healed guru expert. Like, we're here to share our fucking the good, the bad and the ugly, and let you see that it's safe for you to do that too. So thanks for sharing that, Lisa. And I think that that's it. It's kind of like all of the stuff, we've got to just honor it all. And gratitude is incredible. There's so much linked to how it can support your mental health and well-being, but it's not instead of. It's never instead of feeling the actual feels, because that's unhealthy too. There's no point replacing a positive habit with no point replacing something unhealthy with something that's supposed to be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely that. And we are always being watched by other people, and you shouldn't adapt your behavior for other people ever. But imagine if you show up as yourself in all of your emotions, and that's showing other people that's okay. So as you're aware, Helen and I do loads of different trainings, and at the weekend doing children's wellbeing training, our whole thing is to be a champion of children's wellbeing. To be a champion of children's wellbeing is to be human. You know, it's not to be a superhero. And I said to them on the training, your children need to see you be a human, not be superhuman, not be super mom, super dad, super anything. They need to see you be a human being in all of your good points, in all of the uncomfortable points, in all of you. Because when we make mistakes, we're modeling to them how we deal with it afterwards. We don't need more people in the world showing up as superheroes. We need more people showing up as humans so that we can learn and grow with each other.
And allow each other to know it's safe to be human too. We don't have to put on a positive mask and smile regardless of what's going on. It's okay and safe to feel all the feelings. That's normal, that's healthy, and that's the right thing. But yeah, I think that kind of pulls us to the end of our coffee with the coaches with no coffee because we've drank it all.
In this particular moment, I do need more tea.
You joining and listening to me and Lisa. And if you want to hear more of us, head over to our group, What We Can Do For You, or can follow us at the Red Sisterhood. And I'm sure we'd love to see you, and we'd be grateful